When I last left you, I was in Pitlochry and had just received word that my mother's sister, my Aunt Dixie, had passed away. This news changed everything. Instead of continuing to explore Scotland for the next 2 weeks, I decided to cut my trip short and fly home early to be with family. I'm very thankful that American Airlines allowed me to change my ticket. Since I only had one night left in Scotland, I decided to get a cheaper hostel rather than an Airbnb. My favorite Edinburgh hostel that I have stayed in up to this point would have to be Kick-Ass Grassmarket. Instead of a regular bunk bed like most hostels, Kick-Ass Grassmarket had the option to let you stay in these stacked pods. This way you have more privacy than you normally would. So since tonight is my last night in Scotland, I'm going to go back to Monster Mash, get a late lunch/early dinner, and then I'm going to go walk around and look for a gift for my sister and brother-in-law because they watched my dog this whole time. So I'm not big on souvenirs for myself because my souvenirs are the pictures I take and the stories I tell and all of that. So I won't have to buy a lot. And I'm hoping to also get a little stuffed something for my dog. So basically, my world is my dog, and that means my dog gets a surprise and my sister gets a surprise for watching my dog. So that's what's going on. I felt that an appropriate last dinner for this trip would be to go back to Mum's restaurant and have one final bangers and mash. Hey everybody, I am sitting on the floor in London Heathrow Airport and getting ready to go on my second flight. First one was down here from Edinburgh, but I'm about to go on my second flight, which is going to be non-stop all the way to Phoenix. This is a 10-hour flight. So, I have a book to read. Hopefully I can sleep because I didn't sleep at all last night, but I really need to sleep a full night tonight when I land, so maybe I'll have to make myself stay awake. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but anyway, here we go. If you recall, this trip was the first time I'd ever purchased a full-fare first-class ticket. When I called American Airlines to see if they would allow me to change my ticket to a sooner flight, I think this first-class status was why they allowed me to make the change. However, I had to switch to a coach ticket to get home sooner because this was all they had available. The difference in fare was given back to me in the form of a travel voucher that I have up to a year to use. This means I can use the credit to book my flight for next year. On this second flight, I did what I always do. I brought chocolate for the flight crew and told them I was a flight attendant from the States if they needed anything from me. I gave them my seat number and headed to my seat, all the way toward the back of the plane. Once I got settled in my spot, I realized I was in the middle of a group of about 120 high school kids returning to the States after a school trip to Paris and London. I didn't mind too much, but worried they'd feel the need to chat endlessly on the trip home. Then the lead flight attendant came back to tell me that there was an empty row about halfway up, so I could have a little more space. I followed him up the aisle, and when I found the row, he told me to keep following him. One of the first-class passengers hadn't shown up for the flight, and he offered that seat to me. I jumped at this opportunity, especially because this would be a 10-hour flight. So, not only did I have the flight credit to pay for next year's trip, but I was also allowed to fly back to Phoenix in first class. Once again, the flight was incredible. By the time we landed at Sky Harbor, I only wanted to get to my hotel and fall asleep. I decided that rather than driving home, I would go to my parents' house in Utah. When I was on my flight back to the States, I realized that I hadn't seen my folks in almost 6 months. I felt that staying at their house for a couple days before Aunt Dixie's funeral was a good idea. Before I was out of Phoenix, I stopped at Waffle House number 1345. You may or may not know this, but number 100 on my bucket list is to eat at 100 different Waffle Houses. This makes my 16th unique location. My dad prides himself on how much snow he removes from his deck and driveway each season. He keeps track on a chalkboard in the kitchen. At the time I filmed this, he was up to 261 inches. Before I could put this video together, however, he was up to 339 inches, which means he has removed over 28 feet of snow. I find that impressive, especially since he is 87 years old.